Hi, my name is Dan Hendrickson, and I'm looking around because I'm just getting oriented. This is a beautiful place, and I'm a developer, designer, and an artist. And I'm here in East Denver. I built a game, an NFT card battling game called Gladiator, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here to share the game, meet good people, and that's what, when I got off the plane, that was the big thing. And the East Denver experience is turning out to be really wild, really exciting, and I'm happy to be here. This is cool.
I'm glad you're enjoying Denver. I'm Colin, and I'm also a game developer working in the Roman space. So we got a really exciting interview here today where we're going to dive into everything from Roman history, the journey of Gladiator, how it's got to where it is today, Dan's previous experiences, and we're also going to touch on, the processes game developers go through day to day, because it's very easy when you see a final product, but there's a lot of work and, sweat that goes into getting it there. So I'm very excited to dive really into all these topics and explore what's coming next for Gladiator.
Nice.
So
yeah,
what inspired you to create Gladiator, and what about your past led up to that creation?
So the Gladiator game that I put together, it's actually become part of my origin story.
Mm-hmm.
I have a company called Brokenreality, Inc. And when I logged onto the internet in the early days, that was my name. That's what people knew me as. And as a kid, music and art and video games were a refuge for me. Like it was a real escape. And so in that spirit, I've been on a path of creative exploration and self-actualization. It's been a real important thing for me to discern the difference between what it means to be part of Brokenreality and know who I am as Dan versus being actually Brokenreality. So, and I have a corporation, right? I'm incorporated, and I've been incorporated for 10 years. And I've been working, putting in a lot of effort in the shadows for a lot of other people. And I went through a really exciting and in-depth, intense, creative, camp, with a creative mentor. And during that experience, I was challenged. I go out there to meet this guy. His name is James Victore.
Okay.
James Victore is a MoMA artist. He's a creative guru. He's like a Mr. Miyagi for creative people. And he has raised and fostered creativity in people for decades. He taught it in New York at School of Visual Arts, and he's not only allowed people to grow creatively and foster that and encourage that, but he's also worked on himself, for decades. And I've been following James for a long time. So finally, I worked up the gusto to actually, travel and go to his camp, which is it's a very personal thing.
Okay.
To be in somebody's home and to be in close proximity. With that, I was very comfortable. And in the spirit of those 3 days, those intense 3 days, we did a bunch of creative workshops, and there was a bit of a ceremony around a campfire at the end of it. And I love this because that particular evening, everybody was given like a pouch that you would throw into the fire, and it was a cool ceremony. Everybody earned a new middle name.
Okay.
And I opened mine up, and what is inside the envelope but Gladiator?
Really?
It says Gladiator with love, Victore.
Wow. How cool is that?
Yeah. So I go, I'm looking at it and I'm going, whoa, that's cool. Right. At that time, I didn't know, to me, it felt really inspiring. It felt like found safety in it, found strength in it, just a name, but it didn't really have a drive or a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So amidst all of this, I've been building in the Web3 space for a while.
Okay.
And I went through the 2020, 2021 NFT craze, and I was building some exciting projects, helping a good number of people. And in that experience, I started minting my own collection, right? And I'm, a small, like, studio passionate guy with a small group of friends that love art and music just like I do. And, so the first thing that I create were these happy little AI accidents called cosmic muffins, right? And they're totally ridiculous, but they're adorable, because you got to see them. They're just totally silly, and they make me giggle. I showed a friend, and he goes, "Is that a collection?" And I said, "No, I'm just goofing around with AI." And he goes, "Well, it should be." So basically, and boy, this is a long answer to why Gladiator, right?
Well, it's a great story.
Thank you. So, it's the way so what do muffins have to do with gladiators, right? Pretty obscure. But along this path, I'm creating these AI art pieces, having fun with them, just goofing around. Then I started to create these things called sacred moths. And these are also AI art. And as an artist, my only rule with AI art is that it has to go through a human filter. It needs a human touch.
Yeah, I think that's a good policy.
Like, I think, so I've been using Photoshop for 20 plus years, basically was raised by Photoshop, Anyway, these NFT collections were out there in the world. I was writing a bunch of lore, and then I decided about almost a year ago, mid-March of 2023, I said, wouldn't it be cool if, right? So I've been playing Hearthstone. I've been playing Marvel Snap. I said, wouldn't it be cool if, I frame these beautiful muffins or these silly muffins and these beautiful moths, and I just start creating an app, an engine that will allow them to battle. And as it actually started to look really good and I was happy with it, what do you call something like that? What do you call it? And so I'm looking at this thing, and I still got the note on my desk, and it says Gladiator, right? I'm like, of course, I'll call it Gladiator. So I start to come up with the imagery for Gladiator. And then I start to dive into the old film that I loved, which was the Ridley Scott film with Russell Crowe.
Iconic as it gets.
Yeah. And it's that movie, if you remember some of the battle scenes, like, you've got, in that Coliseum, you've got chariots, you've got tigers, you've got all sorts of oddities and wild things happening. And that's the whole purpose, right? Between Gladiator, like, why muffins and moss in Gladiator? Because it's all types of creations. Like, everything comes in there to battle, and the idea is that it's chaos, and that it's intended to be good, simple fun, So that is why Gladiator, right? It's in the spirit of my own personal exploration, and it's a big part of finding my way back to the spirit of play, So why build a video game at all? It's because I found refuge in those things. I, as a developer, I start to build these things for myself, find some personal amusement, because like, the special effects in the game are tailored to each NFT collection. So muffins have their thing, moths have their thing.
Okay.
And it's beyond just building it for myself. Like, I'm a big fan of this idea that, like, in the particular lies the universal, which I have to give credit to Victore again, who has many gems. If you're a creative out there and you're looking for, like, a book on not just creativity but life, he has this book called Effect Perfection, and it's amazing. It's amazing because he goes through, like, these really powerful, like, passages that talk about, like, the stark reality of life, but then give you empowering thoughts to carry with you so that you're never stifled. You know how to step around it, right? Just like a gladiator in an arena, like, you have the tool set now to navigate life a little bit easier.
Okay.
So, it's it's vastly important that I think people find their way back to the spirit of play. So that's why Gladiator. That's why a game, with muffins and moths. And it's probably important that I mention, right? It's an NFT card battle.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about that because it gives instant utility to other collections. You know, in that NFT craze, there was there was always a video game at the end of the roadmap. You know, promised to everybody, you know, we'll build it, eventually.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Yeah, no, I built the game first. The game's built. So now it's about finding creators that want to make the Coliseum what it really can be.
Yeah.
You know, pure chaos.
Well, that sounds like like an amazing journey of not only creative but personal discovery, development. Along that whole route, and it led to you fostering your creativity in a way that really resonates with you, but also I'm sure resonates with a lot of people. Because I know myself, I always played a lot of video games growing up, and gaming has been a huge part of my life, and now it's my career is game development. And every game developer, they have certain video games as a child and throughout their youth that were just formative for them. And, and the friendships you make through gaming, and, once multiplayer became a thing, the way you're able to connect with people online, you don't even know their real name, but they're important figures in your life.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah, it's some of those games that I loved, like, and it explains, again, why muffins, why moths, because I used to play games like Earthworm Jim. You know what I mean? I used to play games like Boogerman and Toe Jam and Earl, but I also played X-Men, and I was a big Sega Genesis kid. I was lucky enough to have had a console. In my upbringing, I had a good amount of challenges. And part of the story is, settling with who I am as a person, right? Separating from broken reality, and then serving and fostering play, reminding everybody that play is so valuable. I actually think it can sustain us. As life weathers you a bit, you get back to play, you find you got some energy. You can. People, just as they like to get up and dance, play also has a spark to it.
No, recreation's important. You need to find joy in life, and that's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's great.
So, I mean, all of a sudden, I'm a game developer. What? So, and you've been doing this for some time?
Yeah, I built like my first basic video game when I was 12 years old or so, and
you're way ahead of me.
But it was so bad. I mean, it was. I built a card. I tried. I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon guy growing up, and so I tried making my own card game when I was 8. But of course, I had no understanding of game design, no understanding of balancing. I'm trying to create these like monsters so they could fight, and of course, it went nowhere. I remember I was cutting up printer paper to try to make the cards and hand drawing everything, And then at 12. I took a game design course, and we were building a game Christmas themed. So you're like flying Santa's sleigh. And of course there's like no levels, no objectives or anything. It's essentially just like a horrendous flight simulator of like Santa's sleigh with this reindeer. But yeah, I mean, you got to find creative outlets. And I think like throughout your formative years through adulthood, it plays a big part in self-discovery. It's very hard to figure out like who you are if you never take those creative leaps, and whether it be painting or writing or poetry or sculpting, or in the digital age game design, or an AI art, it's like how do we really figure out who we are on a core level and gain a better understanding and start moving towards like self-actualization and concepts like that if you're never willing to take any risks and you stay inside a shell. So I think it's great that you've find ways to like venture out and, build yourself as a person.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I mean, I know that. So, I know that level of delight and experimentation, like even that simple game, that core memory that you have, like that's part of your fabric, man.
Yeah.
And everybody has that fabric. And I think, all too often, we forget that we have this innate desire to go back to childhood wonder. There's something to this idea of no rules, not being, suppressed by obligation. And if you can find a bit of free space in your life to be able to think introspectively, and ask yourself like what matters, what are you going to give your time to, like it's vastly important for me to consider what I do with, between the date that I'm born and the date that I go, right? That dash is going to be on my headstone. I need to put some color in that. And that's what I'm after.
No, I think that's hugely important. We're all on this earth for a limited amount of time, and what you do with it defines you. And, it's like finding meaning in your actions is incredibly important, because I think too many people just wander through life like kind of stuck in a repetitive cycle. And they never really feel like, that sense of accomplishment and creating something or building something, or like, expressing themselves through, whether it be painting or game design, and it's an art form. It's a medium of expression. And that's great. I'm really glad, learning about how you went to that workshop, that camp, and were able to like foster that and find the identity of Gladiator. It's one of my favorite movies, Strength and Honor. And,
yeah, man,
really you delved into that movie far deeper than I think I ever have, and extracted more like hidden meaning, or maybe like, just taking a more analytical look at it beyond just the beauty of the cinematography and the action scenes, and, extracted that sort of information. And that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. So Ridley Scott made that film. Mm-hmm. I've been a huge fan, right, ever since Alien, and I'm also a big fan of H.R. Giger, depending on what part of the planet you're from.
Yeah.
But, there are subtle nuances in that particular movie, like if you watch throughout that movie, and it's a great movie, I encourage anybody to check it out. There's a lot of good historical stuff, I'm sure, that way more about than I do. But the subtle nuances I'm talking about are like when he prepares to take on a challenge, he picks up the dirt, rubs his hands with it. There's something to that familiar preparation, and that like that moment, like that because the sound goes away, like all the distractions go away, and it's just his hands and that dirt. And to me, it's like it's a moment of solitude that gives you confidence. And a big part of the work that I try to do, and I realize, like, as I'm talking, I profess a lot, mm-hmm. But a big part of it is those that are having a hard time should know that they're allowed some path to like self-actualization, and that dirt is just a basically a symbol. It's like you can allow yourself safe passage. You just got to take a moment, dig deep, find that confidence, and I think that translates into almost everything that we do. We and I heard this from a few different people, but we go throughout our days, and we take short sips of air, like short, mm-hmm. and that's pent up energy. How often do you breathe, you take a minute, because how else are you going to find that, allow yourself safe passage to take on that next challenge, like a gladiator, And yes, it sounds pretty grandiose to talk about it in this fashion, but I would say that life is hard, mm-hmm. and sometimes you need that grit, and I think, in the Web3 space in particular, like it takes a bit of grit, and having arrived at East Denver, meeting a good amount of the people, like I see a lot of myself in these people, and it's super cool. Like it's really cool. Everybody I've met has been wildly inspiring, and so when I get a bit ethereal, right, I'm talking about muffins and moths and gladiators, it's not lost on them. It's they get it, and that's yeah.
No, there's a great crowd here at Denver, and you meet some truly amazing people, and I love the Web3 space fosters creativity, unlike I think most industries. I think it's definitely up there with a few, like the classic creative artists, film and art and like music, with how creative you can be with your project, because the sky's the limit. Yeah. And I think that's one of the best parts about ETH Denver is I feel like ETH Denver, more so than other conferences, There's a couple others, but really fosters that creativity where it's less about the pure, finance aspects or like trading aspects. And a lot of it's about like creative, artistic expression. And, what I love about the Web3 communities, we support that. And like what you're saying with adversity, adversity is a part of life, and how you handle it really defines, character and overcoming these challenges. And the way, like, Russell Crowe in the movie Gladiator, Maximus is able to connect with himself before facing God knows what's about to come out that gate, whether it's a lion or chariots or, even when he's surrounded by Praetorians, at the end on like the emperor himself. It's like, who knows what's coming through that gate, and you better be ready to, confront it head on, and you got to man up in this moment. And, we've all faced challenges in life, and it's how you deal with them that really shapes who you are as a person.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can't say that any better. That's good, man.
It's such a good movie. I love that movie.
A good movie. But this is not a commercial for Gladiator.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get...
You should watch it, though, if you haven't. You really need to watch that. Director's cut.
Yeah, I did see that, by the way. Called some extra scenes.
Yeah.
In that same spirit, it does foster creativity. What I also learned as I arrived here, and I started to... I arrived as a solo builder, and my intention was just to share the game and to share the story for those that would listen. I had to come out of my cave and meet people and say hello. And a big part of that was learning along the way the people that I've met in just a few days that I've been here, how much good they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much real good that they want to do. Like, yeah, you're going to have this crowd that's based on, making an income off a token pump or whatever it might be. And all of those things that kind of, I think have actually given the, in 2020, 2021, there was too much of a bad attitude that really stifled creativity. It stomped on it,
Agreed.
And it's like, this technology can give us the ability to like think more panoramically and help people beyond the construct of the dry aged old systems that we have, particularly in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can step around those in a way and help people, really, So I think there's something to that. It's like, yeah, it fosters art, it fosters creativity, the personalities and the people and the excitement is really exciting. Like, I've never been in a room, so I've been building like most of the week, and I've never been in a room with so many open computers and IDEs open at the same time. Like I'm coding alongside of people that have written tech specs that I've used, and it's super trippy. So it's fostering creativity in code and all of these things, and that's good energy. That's a good attitude, and so I think that good is it's contagious. It's like what I think is going to happen is that this technology, it's going to persist in a way where humanity is going to find itself propped up because of decentralization, and it's going to give an underlying bedrock for those that don't trust the grander systems or the age-old systems. You know what I mean? Those dry paper institutions,
systems that have been in place for hundreds of years. Yeah. They're just, well, why do we operate in this manner? Because we do.
Because
and it's like this Web3 is so freeing in so many ways.
Yeah, and it's it's raw. Like it's still getting its footing, which is pretty exciting. Every day it's changing. There's a new standard. There's a MetaMask. So I'm a front end developer, right?
Yeah.
So there's an SDK update. There's this. There's that. There's which only means that there's a pulse. There's something happening. People are still building. So, there's a wave, and if the temperature's right, it could be a lot of fun,
I think one huge misconception about this industry is propagated by the headlines, and that's the bad actors. You hear about all like the pump and dumps. You hear about that in the mainstream media. If you turn on MSNBC, CNN, any of the major news networks, they're not covering like, oh, here's a really creative collection that's allowing artists to get their artwork out there and be discovered. It's here's 4 influencers, like Save the Children or something like that. Or it's like, here's this, here's that, here's a pump and dump, here's a Ponzi scheme. And those individual cases taint the public perception of what I think is one of the most accepting, friendly communities I've ever been a part of. People are so positive. I know personally, I don't view any other Web3 game as a competitor. We're all building together, we're all fighting for the same outcome. And if we want to make it together and build the Web3 gaming industry. And I think that that's a great thing. People are so friendly. They're so supportive. Everyone's always happy to introduce you to someone who could help you, whether it be funding or you need a front end guy, you need a back end guy, you need an animator. Like I got an artist, I got a Solidity guy, and I love that. And I think, here in Denver, it's that attitude is amplified more so than in a lot of places. And it's just a great conference to be a part of. Like walking around the whole biddle is remarkable. You've got everyone just heads down building, or they're interacting, and sharing ideas, sharing, workarounds, sharing experiences, referring each other to one another. And it's something else. It's really impressive to see in person. Like if you haven't gotten the chance to go to ETH Denver during the Biddle week, you should check it out, because I have never been in an atmosphere quite like that.
Yeah, it's I'll share something. There have been a lot of synergies during this trip that really stifled me. Like not stifled, but set me I've had to pause and go, what is happening?
Yeah.
Okay. So I build Gladiator, right? The game. And then I get to the building, right? The build hub, as they call it. And I go inside and what is it? It's an arena. Okay. It's an arena where there's a bunch of stages, and they've cleared the place out so that a bunch of developers can build in an arena. So here I am building Gladiator in an arena, freaking out inside, going, what is happening? And then I come meet you, and you're working on a project that is deeply inspired by, ancient Rome. And you show me that coin, which, and then I show you my hoodie, and then I'm like, what is happening? I don't think that stuff, that stuff doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
It's like there is I just said this to somebody before I got here. There is a very subtle rumble of excitement and positive energy in that space. And that itself is going to propagate. It's going to find its way into every cell of everybody that participates. And then every tax, transaction hash is going to have a positive charge. Again, I get a bit ethereal sometimes, but that there can be an imprint on humanity. I think that is positive, so because of this effort, because of these synergies, so, it's, did I mention I'm excited? I don't know.
There's an energy here that's just infectious. I completely agree. And it's like, we're coming out of 2023. I feel like those of us who are still building something at this point, we're survivors. We made it through
battle tour and everything.
Yeah, we came out bloodied and bruised, but we're still here. We're still fighting.
Yeah, we're good. We just rub some dirt.
Yeah, exactly. Pick up some dirt, rub it off, and you're fine. You're good.
That's right.
But it's a lot of fun, and just when you mention I'm building a game, well, so am I, and I wasn't scheduled to do this interview. And then we just start talking about games. Oh, what are you building? Oh, okay, I'm building a game, about ancient Rome. Okay. And I was like, well, we got these coins, you should have one. And then you go, well, look at my hoodie. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. We should definitely talk about this. And then they came in you guys should really talk about this on camera. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And, it's if it is a coincidence, that is one obscure coincidence.
I'll take it. It's super cool,
Yeah.
And that, that spirit of doing good is something that is I have to pay attention to that. That free space I talked about for introspection. What I find is that if somebody is saying that we should do good with the opportunity, the opportunity to have the time to build alongside of people with similar energy,
Yeah.
then we take it and we run with it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to have a positive sum, you know? And, that's what I'm excited about. You know, like through some of the challenges as a kid building Gladiator and all of those synergies and everything that's happened just in the past few days, the great people I've met. So yesterday I was I was on my way to ETH Denver and I got an email, super excited because they'd given me a chance to demo my game at the Blockchain Arcade.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So I freak out on the plane because I was just coming out here to hang, you know, and probably do some work because, you know, you got to pay the bills. But now the nature of my trip has changed. Not only did I demo at the Blockchain Arcade, but like unanimously positive.
Yeah.
I did not expect that. You know, it's an NFT card battler. To me, it amused me. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I could see the potential in the technology and the collaboration with creators. Mm-hmm. And then I find a teammate, you know.
Oh, nice.
And this teammate reads my story. So her name is Julieta. She's amazing. She's a journalist, biz dev, PR person. She reads my story, goes through everything, and then finds a pathway to where this project can do some good, you know? So I start to build something new and fresh for the game that I didn't intend on. You know? And working with the mentors over there who are amazing, they said, yeah, you need to build. You know, mm-hmm. you got approved. That's good. Go build now. So now I had to build something, and you know, part of what I'm excited to share is that the Gladiator game is intended to open up shop, right? An emporium, right? A market, if you will.
So there's interoperability with other collections.
Well, yeah, and I have my 2 collections.
Yeah.
The idea is to onboard others that want to join in the fun.
Yeah, that's great.
But the added value is not just utility for collections, but we actually get a chance for other people to do some real good. So mm-hmm. through the shop, my plan is to sell accessories in the shop, mm-hmm. where 25% goes to building and development, and then the remaining portion is divided between charities that really do good.
That's great.
And the charities I'm thinking of are part of my story, part of like the idea of supporting children's mental health. Yeah. The idea of supporting a friend back home who has an animal sanctuary. Mm-hmm. And I was on the board of a cancer survivorship organization, for like 8 or 9 years. And, that's the type of introspection that if somebody is saying, hey, Dan, this is a good idea, I'm not going to, why not? Yeah. Why not give back to the people at home and then give Web3 even more of a positive charge, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm excited about. The game is up, it's live, it's an open beta on my site. You know, people played it, they had a blast. You know, in the game, they had a butter blast. There's an ability in the game called butter blast because of muffins, right? Cosmic muffins.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
I like the baking references scattered throughout the muffins. That's great.
And the muffins are their own thing. You know, like the collections are actually in my free time. As an artist, I goof around with some lore and things, but the muffins have they're all about humor and irony. You know, humor and irony are deeply related, and the sacred moths, which is what's on my shirt, those are about finding majesty in darkness. Okay. You know, and so through they all have their themes, which I think are really important and have a lot of context in the gladiator sense and the Colosseum sense, because you need these things going to the battle of life. Uh-huh. So it's going to be, muffins and irony, and then it's going to be moths and majesty. And then I have a few other collections coming up in the future. So, and they're simple experiments. Yeah. For me, mostly because I like the art and I like writing the story. But as I'm finding out, there are people who dig it as well. And, so there will be more art, more collections, more gameplay, and just more in the Colosseum. Let's go. Let's build something that's like just wildly creative. you know, and this is the first step, is like to come out here, share it, you know, if, you know, just, in the spirit of leaving shore and going to meet people.
Yeah.
It's time, you know? So
it sounds like you got your product in a very great state. You know, the game, it's fully functional. You're able to test it in the arcade. You got great reception to it. So what is your website if people want to go have a butter blast themselves?
That's probably important.
Yeah. Because I'm curious. I want to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll play a match for sure right after this.
Okay.
So my website is brokenreality.com.
Okay.
Right. It's the name of it. It's the same domain I've had. Like when I begged my mom to help me get a domain name when I was in my sophomore year of high school. You know, she wouldn't. I wouldn't let her or leave her alone about it. You know, I wanted a domain. She had no idea what I was talking about. But I was lucky enough to register it with Age-Old Network Solutions, and so I've had that domain forever. And so it'll stick and it'll persist. And it's the reason it's brokenreality.com is it's my way of differentiating myself from everybody else. You know, it's like, it's part of my fabric.
Yeah.
So that's why brokenreality.com, and you'll see Gladiator is right on the main page. You'll see little Danny Boy. You'll see my story as a kid. And then you'll see the Victore story. You'll see, you know, my art and photography and all that stuff.
That's great. So it's not just a gaming site. It's an entire museum of, you know, what's led up to this. It's a collection. You got a collection there before your collections. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's better with a story. Let's be honest. The best way of conveying any message, whether it be advertising or, you know, networking or anything, is always through stories. So that's a great way to lead people to the Coliseum at the end of the road.
Well said.
I like that.
Really well said. Yeah, I think, I totally agree. You know, there's something to be said for the idea of a story. It's the one thing that's passed down from generation to generation to generation that requires no hardware.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's like a connection that we've had throughout humanity for ages. The limited span of history that we know in our current, you know, as we know human history, current recorded history, you know, a good amount of that is passed down. You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, literature and paper and like a lot of that stuff in the grand scheme of things is fairly modern, is just a small portion of it. So how else would you transmit those messages? You tell stories, you know. Everybody's got one. Everybody's actively living theirs and trying to find their way through it, make it a good one, you know.
Yeah.
So so when you tell me you're building a Gladiator game or a Rome game, you know, and you show me a Roman coin, I'm like, what is happening, man?
It's just another step in the story.
Yeah.
It's just another, the story of life. That's really exciting to hear that, like, you know, it sounds like you've been able to take your creativity and your personal self-expression, and now you have a functioning product that's enjoyable to play. This is a quality game, and now you're adding more connection or collections to this in the near future. You said you have a few in the works.
Yeah. You
got any hints you can drop on that, or anything for the audience?
Oh man. Yeah, I have a closed curated Discord that is full of a few chosen creators, and those particular people are excited to see what's happening. They were very happy to hear about demo day. They themselves have seen the prototype gameplay. They've touched the interface. They know what's happening, and they're excited to, build and integrate. And I'm also inviting other collectors, like people that want to play in there. So, I have some people that I want to share, but I don't want to, put them on blast just yet, because I think that they want to roll it out how they do. They got it.
I understand.
They got successful communities, and, I'll let them share their path to glory, as they introduce Gladiator. But I got to give credit to a lot of the people. Like, one of my first NFTs was with a guy named Ethan S. Brewerton, who is part of Mecha Chaotic. And he's just a wholesome guy that creates really kick-ass work. And, there's this guy named Zero X Vinyl, or I think I'm saying that right. But, these are just like low-key creators that have supported the Web3 space in a wholesome way that is like they're unsung heroes. And those gentlemen deserve real credit, like, and that's, man, it's not just them. There are so many other people that also deserve credit,
Yeah.
I'm sure if you're in the space, there are hundreds and thousands of creators that do great work, great artwork, great creative expression that's embedded in the blockchain now. Go find them. They're like at ETH Denver. There's a ton of art everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Go see it, give it, some love. And I'm totally digressing from the question and the point, but
no, it's fine. I mean, I just love, the way you're able to foster this collection of creators together to help build this game. And, I guess one of my big questions is, okay, I'm really interested in playing Gladiator. What's your favorite play style or character within this game? Is it's a card. What's the card that you love most personally? Like when you draw it into your hand and are able to play it out, what's the one you love?
Well, so the cool thing is you get to select your token before you play.
Okay.
And when you jump into the interface, you're given a random ability. So you just don't know if the winds are in your favor or not.
Okay.
And it's very simple. It's like click and click play. It's very similar to Hearthstone, but it's not. Right now, the game itself is a brawler mode. So you basically shoot back and forth. Simple fun. And there will be strategy in the future. But every time I jump into the game, I'm the funny thing is I'm still the majority holder of a good amount of my tokens, which is fine. I love it. So I have a favorite muffin. His name is Earl. You'll see him. He's out there on OpenSea. All the muffin names come from names you would hear in the 50s and 60s that you haven't heard in decades.
Interesting.
So you got like Emery, and you've got like all these weird. So Earl's pretty cool, and depending on the winds that day, he might be reliable, And the moths, I just go with whatever I'm drawn to that day.
So
That's it.
I guess final question. What else would you like to put out there about what you're building or your vision for the future, or special thanks to anyone? Anything that comes to mind? Is there something you'd really like to touch on this time?
Special thanks to you guys for doing what you do, giving people space to communicate, supporting people. Arriving here was very warm, and it's a breath of fresh air getting out of that arena, taking a break from building, even though from right here, I have to get my ass back and build to submit my project, submit Gladiator's latest features. But beyond that, I want to thank you guys, and I want to thank everybody else that believes in Gladiator as a project, that sees the potential in Web3, and that want to innovate with it and support artists and creators, and then also do good, because you can participate in this platform, see it through to succeed, and then know that you're doing good and not passive good. Like, there's a reason that a good amount of revenue through that shop is going to support charity.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I just want to make a good living doing what I love. If we can actually help people along the way, that's pretty cool.
So I think that the charity is a great cause, and I fully support Web3 for good. I think that's like a movement that needs to gain more traction, needs more recognition, beyond like the massive headlines you see of certain organizations. So
that's all noise. That'll die down.
Exactly. Like, some things are fads, but I don't think good intentions are one. So thanks for coming by to Genzio Media House.
Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing talking with you about not just your own personal journey, but the evolution of Gladiator and where you're taking this next. And I wish you nothing but the best in the hackathon. I hope you're able to win top place, because this sounds like a very exciting project that has incredibly good intentions, and
Thanks.
I absolutely love it. So
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming by Genzio.
Thank you.